Mr. Bloxham here from Bay House School. I'm just going to show my Year 11s how to make Yule log, shortbread and mince pies. And first thing, I need to wash my hands. So I've got some hot water here. I've got some hand anti-bac washing stuff here. And when you wash up, you have to wash up in hot water, not cold water, and then dry them thoroughly on a paper towel and put the paper towels in the bin. That's the first job. I'm going to use another one here, so my hands are nice and dry. So first job is, I need to put the oven on as well. So I'm putting that on about 180, gas mark 4 or 5, and I've got an electric whisk here. This is going to be a bit quicker than just doing it by hand. 2 eggs, sugar. Now this is for Swiss roll, which is for Yule log. And the next one is, what is the method for Swiss roll? It's called the whisking method. So I'll write that down, the whisking method. So, the only trouble is, I've got this nice and noisy over here, so that's just going to have to go. Now move that over there a bit, so you can hear me a bit better. So I'm going to take that out actually. Where it's real noisy, I'm just going to move it over here, and then my helper, that doesn't find me on the YouTube channel, to come and bring it over, so otherwise they won't be able to hear me. So that goes on high, that goes until it's 4 times its volume, and it's called the ribbon method. You can write in it and it won't fall back. You can turn it upside down and it shouldn't come out, but I wouldn't risk that just in case it falls on your head. So while that's whisking, the advantage of the machine, by the way, is I can do something else. So rather than stand there for about 8 minutes, because it takes 8 minutes, this will be a great tip for the exam. If you're making something that needs a lot of whisking, use the machine. I'm free now to do something else. So scissors here. Now you don't have to do this, but I'm going to cut it here, then it goes in earlier. Now you can grease this, but you don't have to. Sometimes I grease it so the paper sort of sticks to the bottom, but I'm not going to today. So cut a corners here. And this is baking parchment, not greaseproof really. Some people call it, but I'm going to call it baking parchment. So put it in here, then we push it in with our fingers into the corners, like so. Right, and that's ready. Now in a minute, I need to fold the flour in, and I've got some cocoa here. So this is going to mix it up. Let me see if the next question, because there's a question about this any minute. Next one. Oh, 2 safety tips with electrical stuff. So don't have wet hands, obviously. Make sure the cable, I shouldn't be having it whisking it over here because somebody could walk into the cable here. Make sure when you finish with it, you clean it and put it away. If it's damaged, don't use it. Don't put any electrical items in the sink, and I have seen it before. So now, I'm going to whisk it here. When whisking the eggs and sugar for Swiss roll, it expands 4 times. What is that called? It's called aeration. And it's funny how it's not spelt like air, it's spelt A-E-R, A-E-R, then Asian. So that's called aeration, right? Another way of aeration is by doing this, I'm actually mixing it together. This mixes it together, but it also adds a little bit of air to it as well. So sieving flour is also aeration, but the most popular one is whisking meringue up, because obviously that swells up lots of times. So I'm going to sieve this twice, then I'm also going to sieve it into my Swiss roll mixture. This is going to be for Yule log, which is basically a chocolate Swiss roll covered with buttercream, which is the famous Christmas thing. So that goes back in there. Then the next question is, in Swiss roll, what type of raisin agent is it called? Oh, that's a mechanical raisin agent, because I'm whisking it up. So it's called a mechanical raisin agent. It's got no baking powder in it, no chemicals, no yeast, so it's not biological or chemical. What is the ratio? That's shortbread, which we're moving on to in a minute. When whisking the eggs, expand 4 times, we've done all those ones there. So what is the ratio when making shortbread? So I've got it in here, 3, 2, 1. So 3 flour, 2 butter, 1 sugar. I've got margarine today, big keeper, not quite so good as butter. I'm just checking this over here. That's going to be ready in 30 seconds. I've got all my equipment out here. I'm just going to show some of the stuff out here. When we make the shortbread, I've got all these different cutters here. Christmas tree ones. I love this one here. This is a gingerbread man, but we're going to turn it upside down and we're going to make a reindeer. We've got loads. I've got some nice templates there. A Merry Christmas template, a snowflake Christmas tree, loads of things. I'll just put that so it's pointing at me. Cheers, thank you. So I'm going to go and get the egg mixture now. So this is called the ribbon stage. Now it's not really it's not really made for whisking 2 eggs up this machine, because it's quite a big machine. You shouldn't be turning it upside down, but as you can see, it doesn't come out. And when you see it here, you should be able to write your name in it, and it should be quite thick, right? But don't turn it upside down, just have to show you. So we're going to sieve this in, and then we fold it in. This is everybody, and it's like a figure of 8 action. With some cocoa in, it's actually hard. I'm going to use a tablespoon, or you can use a spatula. So don't over-stir it. So the biggest problem with this is when pupils make this, they over-stir it and it goes runny. So if I whisk this now, it would all go runny and it would knock all the air out. So this is like not stirring it vigorously, I'm stirring it like a figure of 8 action, trying to incorporate the flour and cocoa in without knocking the air out. So this will be nice and thick hopefully, and it's done now. Look, it's nice and thick, then we can just scrape it in with a spoon or the spatula. This only goes in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Alexa, set timer, 8 minutes.
8 minutes, starting now.
It would need longer than that, because this is going to take me another minute to get it in there, or 30 seconds, but I don't want to burn it. And it might be a little bit hotter, it depends what oven it is. I've got roughly a bit more than 180, but it could have a little bit hotter, depending on how hot your ovens are, because some of these ovens, they say 180, but they're not actually 180. So, scrape it out, and then to get it in the tin, I use my spoon to spread it out, then I give it a little tap, not too much so I knock too much of the air out, and by putting cocoa in it, it's normally not quite so thick as when it's without the cocoa. So I've scraped it all out with a spatula quite well, give it a little tap, then that goes in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. I've got an Alexa because otherwise I'd probably burn it. So I'm just putting, I've finished with all that, that goes over here by the sink, ready for one of my trusty helpers to do later. So the next thing, we're doing shortbread now. So let me have a read the next question before I start. What is the ratio of shortbread? Why is it called shortbread? And this is a real weird one, because everybody thinks they know what it is. My helpers haven't got me a flour shaker out. Can one of my helper there get me a flour shaker out? Thank you. I can move here, just move it. So I'm rubbing, this is called the rubbing in method, by the way. In Swiss roll, what's the ratio? Oh, shortbread. Why is it called shortbread? So at the moment, I've got flour, and I'm putting fat in it and I'm rubbing it in. And by rubbing it in, the fat is surrounding the flour molecules so they get short. So that's what it is. So by rubbing the fat in, it surrounds the flour in fat, which makes it the gluten molecule short. You all have to write that one down. That's a complicated one. Can you all write that down on the sheet? That was one of the questions. And that goes to get this short crust pastry. When we do bread or puff pastry, we want the opposite. We want it to be elasticy, and when it's short, it would just break up real easy. This isn't real butter, this is just cheap ranch. So once it's like this, you can put vanilla essence in. 2 things, I don't think there's questions on here. You're going to write this down though at the bottom. Can you write this down at the bottom, guys? And I'm going to add this question on. What 2 things can be added to shortbread? Famous things added to shortbread are either corn flour, because it's got no gluten in it, thank you, or ground rice. That's 2 other things well known. I should have put that question on. We haven't put ground rice in it today, but we do that sometimes. It's just Mrs. weighed it up for me. So, now when we roll this out, there's 2 ways to roll this out. We could just roll it out on the table. It looks like I've got plenty of flour. The biggest problem here pupils do is it sticks to the table. Now, one way to stop it sticking to the table or to the rolling pin, I'm not going to do that today. And there are things called rolling pin guides. I'm not going to use them, but I'm going to get my friend here to go and get some. You know where I normally do the Dems next door? where the carrier bags are, can you get the rolling pin guys out there, cheers? So now I can do this here actually. If I put this on top, then the actual it won't stick to the rolling pin, and you can actually roll it out on one of these as well. I might do that as well to show you, because that's a little good tip actually. If you're not very good at rolling, so I put it on here. You don't have to do this, but then there's an advantage of this, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And we reuse the paper anyway to cook stuff on, so we don't waste the paper. So we roll it, and you can wash your hands before you start as well if you want to. Spin it. This is a problem that pupils don't do. They don't roll and spin it. Roll it. And if I have the rolling pin, guys, it's about the thickness of a pound coin, depending how thick you want it for shortbread. The thinner you do it, the more biscuits you get, but then they're more likely to break. So I'm not going to roll it too thin. But I have got rolling pin, guys, which you put on here, then it's the exact thickness, everybody gets the same thickness. That's going to be big enough. So this is, I would say, A4 size, roughly. Thank you. So we've got these rolling pin, guys, thank you. I would probably use the the orange ones on here. So if you see these here, then it would be this thickness. These go on the end, then it would be exactly that thickness. I reckon I'm slightly, that's about right, but this is about right, but then it comes nice and even there. So what I'm going to do mainly, I'm going to do a few of each. So I'm going to do some and this is one of the questions on here. When cutting this out, what you do is you go on the outside and then you wiggle it. You're welcome to move the camera nearer so you can see this bit. So let me so you can do this, so you can point it down. So let me show you again. So round the outside, don't do it in the middle, that wastes loads of the stuff, even though we're going to re-roll it. So in here and wiggle it. So if I wiggle it, you can see it's easy to get out. Now if you just cut it without wiggling it and move it, oh, that wouldn't come out, but sometimes it's hard to get out. So I'm going to do a few of these. I've also got a great Mickey Mouse cutter. There's hundreds, but seeing we're doing Christmas, I've got a real big one here, obviously. Oh, but they're not good for giving out. I'll pick that up in a minute. I'll pick that up before somebody trips on it, actually. Then I can do a round one because I'm going to do a feathered one. Right, then 2 bits here. Now this is the secret bit here. Now, if I get the metal tray, I don't actually lift it up with the fish slice. I can pick it up with the fish slice now, but there's an easier way. This is a fish slice, actually, not a spatula. If you think it's a spatula, you watch too much SpongeBob SquarePants, whatever his name is, and they're all laughing now. I always give them a giggle. So you could lift it up like this and put it on your tray. But what's easier, you lift the whole paper on your tray, and then you just take the remnants off and re-roll it. Right, you see that? Now my helpers are going to do that, so that's nice and easy, and they're going to re-roll the last little bit out for me. So my helpers are doing that over there, then we're going to put them in the oven and show me when they go in the oven. So the next job is mince pies. So have they got me, oh, they haven't got me yet. So I was meant to do some mince pies, which we might do in a minute. Miss, can you go and ask Miss Kirsty just to do me one lot of pastry, because I'm going to be making mince pies as well. So my helpers knew I was making mince pies, because they got me mince meat, they didn't check the ingredients. So in here, there's flour, brown sugar, cinnamon and ginger. That's the main thing. Now this is called the melting method, because flapjack's also the melting method, because with syrup, it's really thick. So what I've done is I put it in some boiling water here, or hot water, and it will go all runny. You see it's all runny now. And so I've also melted the butter. You can rub the butter in, or you can melt it. And I've also got some eggs. We need some more eggs. Olivia, can you go and ask Miss for 2 eggs as well, please? I'm missing some eggs for this. Say again, of course you can. Do you want to cut this out? Oh, you want the rolling pin? And the flash. Perfect. There we are, and the tray. So these ones here. Now what I can do with this, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This would be a great idea. It's only got a bit of chocolate in here. I'm going to use this one here, tiny bit of chocolate, only a tiny bit left. I'm going to put it all in the machine. This is also going to save me some time. In there. And I normally mix the syrup up with the eggs. Yeah, I'm going to use this one up first. This is a little bit in this one. Right, and then thank you. In here, but then in a minute, 1, 2, and then I'm going to put at least another 2 in. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Alexa off. I'm going to check that any minute. Hopefully they've got me an oven cloth out. 2 eggs. I'm going to beat it up. Then I'm going to check with a spoon here. Then I'm going to mix this on the machine with the, I've got the thing called the beater, right? Then that's going to save me. So this is called the K beater. It's made by Kenwood, that's why it's got a K in it. So that's called a beater, or they call it a paddle or a spade. You might be better standing up, you'll get better leverage. You need flour on top as well. Maybe the paper on top will be easier as well, ladies. So I need to check. I'm going to wash my hands. Then I'm going to check to see if the Swiss roll is done. There's something very important to do with the Swiss roll, which is, so with the oven cloth, fold it in half. I need to cool it back out. They didn't get me a cooling back out. Now it looks cooked and it's chocolate. I reckon one more minute for that. Alexa, set timer, 1 minute.
1 minute.
It might need 2 minutes, but it'd probably be all right. If you take it out too late, you don't need. If you finish with the recipe, have you? Yeah. You need to put that down then, because you don't need that anymore. So with the Swiss roll, if you overdo it, it cracks. If you underdo it, then it's not quite cooked when you roll it up. So this is just going to go on the machine. This is gingerbread, and we definitely roll this out. This is more stickier than the shortbread. This is very good to roll out between the paper, guys. So I'm just mixing it over here, so it's not too noisy. And it won't take long. It will only take about 1 minute in there. So that, if I tried to mix that in this bowl, it's quite hard with my hand. And this is enough for 2 people, by the way. This will make 2 whole trays of different shaped stuff, yeah? So when I roll this out, I'm definitely going to use 2 bits of paper, and it makes it far easier. So I wouldn't have had any flour on here whatsoever, but I changed my mind. We've got some table scrapers here to get rid of this. Alexa off. So as you can see, to give myself a bit of room here, I'm going to scrape the table, and I'm just going to scrape all that in a bin. I reckon that's my Swiss roll done, so I'm going to take it out before I forget. Now this is the hard bit. So I'm going to show you this bit. You need to watch. Olivia, we need to watch. Thank you. So, sugar. The other thing they didn't get me some sugar out of my house because I asked them to get me all the stuff out. They probably wouldn't have known this. You either put it on a tea towel or a bit of paper. Normally it's well known on a tea towel, but that makes a lot of washing up. So I'm just going to do it on paper. So I'm going to turn it upside down, and the paper is not hot whatsoever, by the way. Turn it upside down. This goes straight in the sink so nobody burns itself. Right? Then we take the paper off from the outside. We take the paper off from the outside, right, and hopefully, I could have greased the inside of it, which I didn't actually. Normally I grease the inside, which I didn't do that actually, but even though I've got some out, so luckily it didn't stick. Normally it would have stuck, so you're far better off greasing it. So, but now, most important, I need to roll it up. Normally you do it in a tea towel, but you need to roll it up while it's hot. If you don't roll it up while it's hot, it will crack. So that didn't crack, and you'll see that won't be cracked. So that's just going to cool down there while we make the gingerbread. So I'm just going to go and get the gingerbread from the machine. Perfect. So if it's really dry, you might need a tiny bit more golden syrup, but this looks okay. Now, houses, we used to went to the competition years ago. They rolled them out a little bit thin, some of them, but they'll be okay. They're good if they're thin because you get more biscuits, but they're quite delicate. Gingerbread is far more robust. So if you're making gifts for people, you could do this. This would be a great present. We normally do the Christmas tree festival. We're not doing it this year. I don't think it's on. And I get year 7 and 8 pupils to make, and they put them on the tree in the bag. They look really good, by the way. So I'm just going to make a bit of, scrape this off, because I'm going to use the paper and I'm not going to use the table. So I'm just going to scrape it off best I can. I'm going to get a cloth. Hopefully they've got me a dishcloth somewhere. They have. So now later I'll be scrubbing it, but I'm just going to get the worst off for now. Yeah, and at the end I'm going to give it a good scrub to make sure it's nice and smooth. So as you can see, and then I need a dry dishcloth. So they've got me a dry one, they have. Dry it off, then I've got some, then it's nice and good. But then I'm going to use 2 bits of paper, but I am going to use the flour as well. Oh, they've done me the shortbread. They've done a good job here. They've lost a little bit of the design on this bit here. I don't know if you can see that. You see they've lost a bit of a design where they've been a bit rough with it there. We're doing mainly, with these ones, I'm doing the gingerbread man, because they're all going to be able to decorate the gingerbread man. Yeah. And we're going to get this done before break. Alexa, set timer, 9 minutes.
9 minutes. 13 minutes.
They will take longer than 9 minutes, but where they're thin, I don't want them to be too dark. They shouldn't be golden brown, they should be light brown, a biscuity type colour. So last thing, then it's break time, is show them how to do the gingerbread. So, flour on top, same as the shortbread. Then I'm going to have a look at some of these questions. I'm just going to start these, then you're going to be doing this over there, and then maybe you can point to me over there, Connor, then they can come and do it here. And we can have the other 2 young ladies wanting to help me as well. So you 2 can come up as soon as I've shown you how to take that. It's exactly the same. I might do, this might be a bit thin by the way, so I might do it a little bit thicker because then they're less likely to break. So we do exactly the same, roll it. It looks a lot of flour, but most people, then we can try and spin it. This is a bit sticky, so you have to be careful, otherwise it just breaks. So don't lift it up, just spin it round. Roll it, and we're going to do the same. And we're going to make mainly the gingerbread men, because they're all going to decorate in the second lesson later, once we've done the other sheet. They're going to be this. That's thin enough. Right, then we're just going to get these, then I'm just going to finish up the questions, because I've got 3 minutes to finish up the questions. In here, then cut it and wiggle it, cut it and wiggle it, cut it and wiggle it, then I'm going to preach it somewhere else, and I'm going to finish the questions off. So that's it there. You can lift them up with a fish slice, but what's easier is take the remnants away and put it on the tray. If you make gingerbread houses, by the way, once they come out, I normally trim them while they're hot. So I'm just going to finish up the questions here. So you 2 girls can go up there then. So point it at me then, Connor, then I can, then they can do it here. So let me see what question we got to. When rolling, how can we stop it sticking to the rolling pin? Flour or put the paper on top? That's number 10. Flour or put the paper on top? Can you all do that then, please? What is the method when making shortbread? I did the rubbing in method. So you're rubbing the fat in to the flour. You can do the creaming method by doing the sugar and the butter, then add the flour, but most people do the rubbing in method. Number 11, how can we stop it sticking to the table except flour underneath? We put the paper on it. How can we be efficient when cutting? Go round the outside first. What can we do when cutting? We wiggle it and either use a fish slice or take the remnants of the paper out from the outside and leave it on the paper. Except getting rid of lumps, what else does sifting the flour do? One, it mixes the cocoa and the flour up, but it also adds some air to it. When adding the flour to a Swiss roll, how do we add the flour? We sieve it and then we fold it in, don't overstir it. What is the biggest fault when making Swiss roll by pupils? They always overstir it. I would say 25% overstir it. Which cutter for mince pie? Oh, so I'm not doing this bit now. I'll do this bit after break. Let me have a vote on it. You're going to put your hands up. So watch this here. For the bottom of the Swiss roll, mince pie, is it the small one? We're going to have a vote on it. You only have to put your hand up, so you don't have to talk. So hands up if you reckon it's the if it's the small one. Put hands up for the small one to do the base. No hands up. Hands up for the medium one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hands up for the big one. Freddie's right, the only one, because this one, once you put it in, won't come up the sides. Okay, thank you. That's Mr. Bloxham from Bay House School. Thank you.